This weekend on Sunday, the lower house of Congress voted to impeach the president of Brazil, Dilma Rousseff. It's a pivotal moment in Brazilian history. They have had impeachments before, but this is a story that has been unraveling or unfolding in Brazil over the last 2 or 3 years. Brazil's really at the clutches of three interwoven crises at the moment. There's a political crisis, which is the one that is really unfolding every single day at the moment in that country. An economic crisis. Brazil has been in a state of recession for the last 2 years and is likely to remain in that status this year in 2016. And then obviously a corruption scandal, which started off with the corruption scandal around Petrobras, the largest state-owned entity, the oil company in Brazil. And all this has really kind of culminated now into this ultimate impeachment. What it really does mean, though, is that the upper house, the Senate, will meet in May, and they will then launch a formal trial. And if this takes place, because after a vote, if this does take place, Dilma Rousseff will be suspended, and the vice president of Brazil, which is part of the coalition, the ruling coalition, his name is Michel Temer, he will resume as the acting president while Rousseff is on trial. If this trial proceeds and if she is found guilty of mismanagement of accounting, which is why she's been impeached, then Michel Temer will assume office. The funny part of the story is, or the strange part of the story is that Michel Temer, the vice president, is also facing impeachment charges because obviously he was elected under the same ticket. And so opposition parties could move to try and impeach him as well. If that is the case, after 180 days, they will hold another round, or they'll hold a national election in Brazil, which will be the first in history where they have to elect another president. And obviously then the opposition parties will bolster themselves and come together. What this really means for Brazil is that there's a major political, socio-economic, and obviously an economic state of paralysis at this stage. The country is just about to host the first Olympic Games in South America. So it's a very, very interesting part of the history. But what it also does mean in terms of the medium to long-term institutional changes, the political institutions, the inner bowels of the Brazilian political system and economic system have been revealed to all. And the political elite, which are often in some type of incestuous relationship with the economic elite, have been laid bare to all to see. And that's really been a positive development for Brazil in the medium to long term. How this does compare to South Africa? Well, the first point is that they were able to impeach their president in Brazil. They're able to oust him from a majority-controlled Congress at that stage. Where it is different, though, is that in South Africa, obviously we have a parliamentary system, they've got a congressional system. It's been a long process in Brazil. This is something that has been spoken about ever since Dilma Rousseff came to power at the start of 2015 for her second term. So maybe just in terms of timing, there's a longer time frame. And what's more is the ruling coalition in Brazil, and I think this is a very, very important point. The ruling coalition is the one that fragmented in the end. That was the one, the PMDB party, which is not the PT party, which Dilma Rousseff belongs to. The PMDP party actually pulled off the coalition, and that's what really fractured the ruling coalition and ultimately brought Rousseff down in this most recent vote. Where we have done things differently is that all attention and attacks have been launched at the ANC and at Jacob Zuma, whereas what they did quite effectively, the opposition parties in Brazil, is they started engaging a lot with the coalition parties. The PMDP party is actually the largest party in Brazil, but the current president of that, who is the vice president, was never presidential kind of, he wasn't a presidential candidate really. Yeah, he wasn't presidential material. What it does mean as well is that we've seen a country that's gone literally from hero to zero. It's how the mighty have fallen effectively, because Lula da Silva is likely to be implicated in charges of corruption and things like that as well. And he was the most popular, at one stage he was the most popular head of state in the world.